I had an idea of like the club. Once I got in there, I was like, this is where I found my family. You know, the opportunities that Charli's like put on the table for me have been really lovely and just shown her confidence in herself. I booked the entertainment room. I did not know someone would come out and they would like swallow a sword or sing a song.
Hello and welcome to the Eras podcast, where we get into the music and moments that have made your favourite artists who they are today. I'm your host, Abbie McCarthy, and today I sit down with the super talented Shygirl. She has had co-signs from some of the biggest names in the business. She is quickly becoming one of the most exciting names in electronic music, and we are going to discuss all the moments that have led her up until this point. Her debut album, her chosen collaborators, and her club Shy nights. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Eras podcast. Shygirl, hello.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. I've always used to saying, hi, I'm Shy. So it kind of gives the mood and my name at the same time.
Yeah. I really want to get into your stage name. What does it represent to you? I think it's such a good one.
It's really funny because when I came up with a name, there was no ambition to be a musical artist. I was DJing with a friend.
Right.
And we just thought it was ironic at the time just to be like Shygirl, that kind of quintessential kind of cute, because it was fashion parties we were DJing at. Mm-hmm. So there's very much a facade. And then, yeah, it just kind of stuck. And she no longer DJs with me, but I took the name.
And you're no longer shy?
I feel like I have, the name kind of ebbs and flows. It kind of sticks with me a bit. And then sometimes it's nice to have the opposite of what I'm feeling, but I guess I'm always kind of shy because you put on a persona, so it's not my real name, so I hide behind it a little bit.
Yeah, that's nice. And obviously people will have seen you at iconic venues like Fabric or big stages at Glastonbury, but I'd love to hear about your beginnings. So you grew up in South London, right? How was that?
Yeah, Southeast to be specific, because there's definitely
that's
east,
it.
west divide.
Yeah.
I did kind of grow up all over the place because my parents split up and my dad was in West London. So even though I was based east, I do really feel like a true like Londoner. Yeah, I don't think I really like found myself till I left London.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it wasn't until I went to uni in Bristol that I really thought of myself as a Londoner, because you realise how different you are, I guess, to other places, and you realise what attributes of London there are of you when you see other people and meet other people. When I was surrounded by everyone from London, I was just like, this is what everyone's like, you know. But yeah, there's definitely, I think, characteristics of Londoners that shine, which is just being able to be anywhere, be comfortable. And I guess in opposition to the shyness, there is a confidence.
Yeah.
And me even just leaving London and choosing to come back shows that there's just like an affinity for London for me.
And how did you find Bristol? Because Bristol's got an amazing music scene, isn't it?
I loved it. Like, I didn't even really go to study. I went to the open day with my grandma, actually. She took me there. And I just fell in love with the place. I think I'd seen like a couple of episodes of Skins and I was like, oh my God, it's like real life.
Amazing.
Because at the time of watching Skins, I thought, how can anyone be this crazy? How can people be doing like all these drugs and like blah, blah? Because I think I was quite sheltered in London. My parents were really strict. So I kind of didn't see any of that. And then going to Bristol where there was all these like free parties and people just going into the woods and like putting up a sound system and everyone just being friendly. Obviously, Londoners are not that friendly.
No, not always, to be honest. Yeah.
And then you've got this like, there's a real big, like I call it like an ex-hippie like art community that's in Bristol, and then you've got all the kind of rural farmer type vibe there. And I don't know, I just loved it, and I still love it now. Like I really think fondly of those years, and I think that's where I really started clubbing. So it kind of built a foundation for me, and like my relationship towards music kind of started there, I think.
Yeah, so you could be free there. You're saying your parents were quite strict, but did they let you kind of express yourself? Did they sort of support you doing music? Yes, or something creative?
Totally. Like they really thought of the creative arts as something that should be a part of your life. Like to be like a full human, you'd have some like passion with art and history, but they were really big on education and being more academia. Like
fair.
my mum left school really early and my dad stayed on, so that they completely lived different paths in education, but they both saw it as like a route to have a better life. And there was that kind of pressure. I think that's why I chose to go to uni, and I studied photography, but as more of a practical way, so I could definitely get a job. Like
And go out.
Yeah. It was definitely an excuse for me to like meet people. Like I had like a conversation starter, and meeting people and kind of being in the middle of the action was always really important to me. And even if I was like had more of a background role at that time, like documenting it, I was still there. I was still like getting to know the characters and seeing how different people live life. Because I really felt like there was, I don't know, like I hadn't really found exactly what I wanted, but I knew that just getting out, traveling, meeting people was something that needed to be a part of my life forever. And that was kind of where that started. But yeah, my parents were really strict about me finishing uni, so I did that. But
And then then took a different path. Yeah.
I did that. I had like loads of different jobs. I used to work at a modeling agency as a as a model agent. And then I assisted a casting agent. I think that's so important to just like be out, be working, be in that like apprenticeship vibe where you learn so much from what other people are doing and what there is even to do. Like I didn't really even know there were jobs like stylist and things like that because I had no family in the creative industry. So kind of being exposed to that was really important. And I didn't really start making music till I was 24. So there was a lot of time in between that, just like experiencing life. When I told my parents, actually, I had like a full-time job. I was working at the model agency, holiday pay, everything. So telling them I was going to quit that and do music, I think they kind of they did trust me at that point because I'd kind of done everything.
Because you've taken your time, I guess. Yeah.
I did everything that they'd kind of suggested and they'd wanted for me before, and decided that it wasn't for me, you know. I kind of wanted to riskier path.
What like music did you grow up listening to? Like, what music do you think was quite formative for you?
My parents really introduced me to a lot. My dad, he had a few different jobs, but one of them was he was like promoting club nights at one point, and he used to come back with like CDs and stuff DJs had left or whatever. He worked nights a lot, so I didn't get to see him that much in the day because he'd be like resting in the day, and we'd have to be quiet around the house. And then at night, like he would be out, and I'd wake up to like a CD left for me or something. And the music he introduced me to was anything from like Aphex Twin, Roisin Murphy, Craig David, Destiny's Child. He was just like really appreciated music, and it's probably with him that I credit a lot of my early like musical taste. My mum was more like Isley Brothers, and when they were breaking up, she was like Missy Elliott and like like more like the women that like you know encourage you to like be independent
And feel yourself a bit. Yeah. Love that.
So which I definitely loved, you know. And both of them really enjoyed nightlife, and like they were quite young when they had me, so I kind of grew up being around them, like hanging with their friends, and I had an idea of like the club through them without like really knowing it myself till I was a bit older. But I guess that kind of gave me an expectation of like what it could be and like the community that you build around it. And that's always been something I wanted to carry on. Once I got in there, I was like, this is where I found my family, my like chosen family.
Yeah. How have you found that? Because, you know, obviously you were saying you love clubbing, that's where you found your community. And as you've got more and more well known, you'll be recognised now out and about, won't you? So it won't be the kind of nights that you used to have before.
Yeah, that was a big driving factor in me even like making my own club night, because it was weird. Like obviously, like I started putting out music properly during COVID, and then you're really out of it, and I'd kind of lost not only my natural like social environment, but I had when I got back into it, I had to like figure out how to be in that space after so long being like isolated. You know, I think the queer community in general have been so welcoming and so supportive, and the nicest people to come up to me. And I really am so thankful for that, because they're who I want to talk to the most. They're the ones where I found my voice. And it still is weird though, not being able to be anonymous in that space.
Yeah.
Because I'm so used to like being in the back of the club and like people watching. I love doing that.
Which is so fun.
Yeah, I honestly love it so much. And just being able to meet someone and sometimes completely reinvent yourself. And not being able to do that has been hard, I think. And I did kind of like mourn for that for a while. But making my own club night was like an opportunity for me to confront that and not just like grieve the loss of, you know, how I used to be in that club, but kind of see a potential of what it could be for me now. And I do love being in control of the music. So I love being able to host and look out at the function and be like, I have helped create this space where so many other people are now meeting each other and like finding out who they can be. There's so much that goes into like curating a really good environment where people can have fun. And I feel really happy to have like accomplished that in a small way. And I hope to do more of it, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Long may Club Shy continue. And as an artist, you've got a very clear artistic vision. Like, you totally control the narrative, which we love. Were you always that confident, like when you were younger, or when do you think that confidence was unlocked?
I mean, I don't think everyone's confident every day, but like I'm definitely the type to like fake it so I can make it type thing. Like if I don't feel confident, that probably like pushes me to just present that a bit more, and then all of a sudden it starts to feel natural. I remember being really young and like, you know, when you're at school and like, everyone falls out, like one day you have best friends, next day no one likes you, whatever.
Yeah.
And asking my parents, like, you know, like, when am I going to make friends? Whatever. This is when I was really young. I've been popular the rest of the time, but
The rest of them got it down.
but being like, well, you know, when is it going to click for me, you know? And my dad being like, you have to learn to enjoy your own company. Otherwise, why would anyone want to enjoy your company? And that really stuck with me. And that was at a really young age. But I've always had this feeling of, you know, not fitting in. That's not because people aren't nice, but sometimes you just feel like you're into different things, or people aren't having the conversations you want, and you don't all grow at the same pace. And I feel like now more than ever, I've really found where I feel like I fit in. And that has taken like a lot of work, a lot of like self-work, and, you know, times when you don't feel like you're the most interesting person in the room, and that's fine. Like, you don't need to be. And I think that is the confidence that people see sometimes, where I don't mind not chatting to people. I can just be content in the silence.
Yeah, that is real confidence though, to be able to do that, to be fair, isn't it? To lean into the silence.
You have to be able to sit with yourself.
Yeah.
Not everyone can yet.
And on stage, you are so confident and you're such an amazing performer to watch. And obviously you're going to be supporting Charli XCX on her BRAT tour later this year. What does Charli's friendship mean to you? Feels like you guys have been connected for quite a while now.
She's just really lovely. And I think you realise very quickly in this industry that not everyone is that nice and well, has the opportunity to be nice. Some people you're meeting in fleeting times, not having a great day. So not everyone has the time to be nice to you, you know. And when someone does take the time, who is in, you know, a unique position where she has a lot of experience in the industry, and it's just nice to know that someone can be nice. Sometimes you just want to meet, especially as a girl, like you want to meet another girl that you can like chat to and just like breathe easy with, that you know isn't threatened by other women. And like I can completely understand that perspective as well, because a lot of people in the industry pit you off against each other. And, you know, doing the tour together and, you know, the opportunities that Charli's like kind of put on the table for me have been really lovely, and just shown her confidence in herself. And I think you kind of have to do that, like not be scared of other people or doing similar things. You know, I think a lot of our influences are very similar, and it's nice to know that there's space for everyone.
And obviously you'll be bringing your usual amazing show to proceedings. Have you always like enjoyed performing, or is that something you've had to adapt to?
It depends who you speak to, but I think I definitely haven't shied away from attention and being on stage in some capacity, but it was always for fun, and there was never any pressure. And I think since being on stage as the Shygirl project, there's a bit more pressure, or pressure has kind of like built, purely just because you want to be able to give your audience the show they deserve. And the more they support you, the more they deserve a good show. But yeah, but prior to that, I never really thought about performing or being on stage. Everything just kind of happened. Like making music was something I just started doing for fun with friends, and then the natural progression was to be on stage. But it isn't a thing that drives me to make music. If anything, it takes away from the time I get to make music. I enjoy it whilst I'm doing it. But when I think about it before, I'm like, oh. Like before I get on stage, I'm like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to do it. And then I got on stage, I'm like, oh, that was so good. Like, we should do it again.
Let's go again. Let's go again tomorrow. Yeah, because I feel like the energy at your shows is so special. And I think it's so cool when you go and see like your favourite artists, and through like the stories you tell on stage, you feel that connection. And at your shows, there's such a sense of community. I was quite like taken back by it. That must be such a nice feeling for you.
I really try and like be as present as possible. I think I had to search for what the show meant to me, you know, because it wasn't like automatically obvious like why I wanted to do the show. Like I just felt like I had to,
right.
And that never really sits right with me in any process. Feeling like I reject that internally. I'm like, no one can tell me what to do. Like, so I had
You're
to
not
really,
the boss of me.
I had to really find like why I needed to do it for me, and it offers a really great vulnerable experience. Like there's something where you have to be held accountable on that stage. There's only so much you can plan, things go wrong. And I kind of love that. I love when you have to figure something out on the spot and the sound cuts out and I have to talk to my audience and really be there. And I'm like, okay, I didn't die like on that stage. Like it will just, you get through something. And there's always something valuable from that connection, and even just seeing people's faces like up close. I don't know, I get quite distracted sometimes. Sometimes I see a couple of people in the crowd and I forget what I'm meant to be doing, because everything's kind of like muscle memory at that point. But as soon as you start having to think about it, you like lose your thread.
Where am I?
And there's always someone distracting me in the crowd, like doing something crazy, like even like making out or like holding a sign up. But I definitely,
like, yes.
I definitely love that part of it.
What kind of world are you trying to create with Club Shy? Is it just pure escapism?
I think it's the opposite. I think it's about holding on to the moments, and that with Club Shy especially, like I never announced the lineups, or I guess I kind of wanted to get out of this idea of it being a gig. Like so many club nights have kind of turned into gigs and people like follow DJs and stuff. But I wanted people to really just get into the party and like, you know, their experience with their friends, and not. I went to so many club nights where I didn't know who was playing, or I can't tell you anyone I've seen, but like I just had a great time. I met people. I, you know, discovered something about myself I didn't know before, or I lost all my stuff and I needed to figure out some friendships to get home and stuff like that. So
best nights.
Yeah, and I just kind of wanted to give back in that way.
You've taken the night now to LA, to New York, Chicago, Brazil, right? Yeah. Where's been your favourite show?
Every single one is so different. You know, I pick local talent as well, like people who I've heard about and I haven't had the opportunity to see, or whoever's in town at the moment. A part of the energy of the night as well, a big part of that is the audience, and they all bring in, you know, their vibe from that place, and it's an opportunity for me to really get to know them. Brazil definitely has its own energy, and especially like different places you go to in Brazil. And we were in Sao Paulo at the time.
Oh, wow, it must have been, next level.
It was crazy, especially because like the night sold out like as soon as I posted it, and it's just a credit to the community as well. And it definitely is a real strong queer presence at these parties. But it's not just the queer community that are there, but they definitely give it the soul that it needs. And for me, that's really important, because that's the nights I want to go to. You know, that's the community I want to feed. And that is different in every place, and sometimes doesn't get to thrive in every place. So being able to come on my little travelling circus thing and come in and give it a space sometimes, and sometimes in venues that have never even hosted that kind of community, you know. I think that's really important, just to show that we can occupy everywhere. And that's a big thing for me in general, not being fearful to be in a place, you know, coming from a working class background, a lot of people kind of look at certain buildings sometimes being a portrayal of a certain level of affluence, or
Yeah.
you know, not being able to be comfortable in that space. And part of my like ethos is about kind of breaking that down, and you can be wherever you want, you can be whoever you want, whenever.
And you got to open up for Beyonce on her Renaissance tour. I mean, to even get a bit of recognition from the Queen herself must be something.
That was really scary. I think opening is scary sometimes anyway, because everyone's there to see the main act.
Yeah.
And you know that you need to like win some people over. I do love it, and that's also like the feeling even with doing the Sweat tour and stuff. Like, I know that there's gonna be like die hard like Charli and Troy fans,
Yes.
and it's cool when you see people kind of come on board with what you have to offer. And you know, again, I've been so lucky to be like recognized and kind of taken in by artists that I really respect. And Beyonce, her whole team are just amazing, and a real credit to her as like a businesswoman, really. Like,
Yeah.
and I think that's really encouraging to see that no matter how big you get, that personal touches are felt throughout your whole team. You know that she's across everything and she has final say, and that's really just inspiring to see.
Are you going to be like that even when you're like running the Shygirl empire? I mean, it's on its way.
I'm definitely like that now because I'm a control freak. I find it really hard to delegate. I kind of do a lot of things that I should probably hand over to other people. But it's fun. I like everything, all the parts. And a big part of my like working life was working behind the scenes. So it's really hard for me to let that go.
Yeah, I get that. So when you're not performing or DJing or overseeing like the creative, what do you do in your downtime? How do you relax?
My downtime is such a mess for me at the moment, but I love cooking, and I'm big on just finding different ways to chill. Like, I think especially with the amount that, as an artist you give to other people, it's a big like energy transference. Like, I get so much from the crowd, but I also give a lot of my like mental time to other people, and you kind of have to replenish that and find ways to do that. Really weirdly lately I've been like colouring in a lot. Like,
oh my God, I've got really into colouring books. It's like it's really mindful, isn't it?
Yeah, it's meant to be.
You just give it no thought.
Like, even the other night after field day I had people over and I had all this stack of colouring in books, whatever. So everyone was just like, this is not what you think goes on at Shy Girl's house. But I had like Flume and stuff were over, and we were all just like colouring in my colouring books.
Love that. That's so wholesome.
With my Crayola colouring pencils. If Crayola want to give me any, yeah.
Hashtag spawn. That would be a good one, Can't even lie. I'm fascinated as well to learn more about your creative process, because I read initially that because you started, doing photography and as more of a visual artist, you used to start with photos and videos and then the words would come. Is that still the case?
The words are kind of all simultaneous. Like, I feel like I am a very poetic person, I like to think. Even before making music, that's kind of how I started, because Sega knew that I liked to write, and I would write for everyone. Like, I would write my friends' emails, I would write my friends' sex. I would do everything. So I was like the in-house writer for everyone.
That's amazing.
So yeah, he knew I liked to write, and I would just. But I had no purpose for these things. Like, I never thought about writing songs. I was just writing little things that were in my head, and he was the first person to kind of be like, "Why don't you just try coming into a session and doing stuff together?" That was always kind of there, but I am hugely inspired by. I'm a very visual person, because I always did, like, I studied art and stuff. I think that's always been a part of the process, like mood boarding and scrapbooking and seeing where the subliminal thread is of what I'm into. You kind of have to put it down to see what's going on inside your head, and it's been interesting doing the Club Shy stuff, because I have kind of tried not to do that so much in this one, because I think there isn't a huge narrative for club music for me right now in what I'm doing with it. So I've more been drawn towards like a colour palette rather than actual like definitive imagery.
That's why the Club Shy artwork is
Yeah.
so bright. And like you say, that EP, it just screams fun. Like, were you just having the best time making it?
Yeah, a lot of it I actually made during COVID. So I made
Imagining where you wanted to be almost.
Yeah, exactly that. Like I made a lot of that stuff before I made Nymph, and I decided to not put it out because it felt very literal. And it's funny with music, like kind of it being out of time like that and it happens with a lot of artists. Like you'll hear them talk about, you know, they've been working on an album for 3 years or whatever, and then they put it out and they live in it in that moment. And so I kind of sent these songs as messages to me in the future that I'm now getting the chance to live with.
That's so cool. And I can definitely hear like sort of 90s sounds in there, early noughties dance classics. Reminds me of some of those. Was that the kind of thing that you were channeling at the time?
It's the music I love. Like I think when you love something, I'm not trying to rewrite the script with it. I'm just showing my perspective on it. And it's how I engage with club music. So I've kind of pulled things from a very broad range of club music, but I wasn't in the club at that point. I wasn't in the club in the 90s. I'm in the club now. but yeah, that's how. So you have like it's a fantasy, it's an idea, and I'm just putting my fantasy out at the moment.
Mr. Useless is my favourite Shygirl song. It's so good. I love it. What song has got your heart, do you think?
That one especially, I really love that one as well. Because sentimentally, I had just kind of like just met my boyfriend at that point. And that song is actually about my ex because...
Oh, I thought you were going to say it's about your current boyfriend.
No,
it's not.
It's about my ex. But I'm vaguely, not even really. Like that's why it's just Mr. Useless, because it's like they're not... It's
Men.
it's just like my ex and whoever else, because I'm really happy now. And I'm happy... not just because I'm with someone else, but I am happy, and that's what that song was about. And that was actually made in the first time I met S.G. Lewis, and so it's injected with the fun of like just meeting each other and really connecting as well. Like I love that with the people I've worked with, that we've just hit it off instantly, and you can hear that in the music. Like we only worked on that song I think like twice.
No
so
way.
Yeah, a lot of it is just like as it is, and I really like that with club music. I'm not trying to write anything too deep. I'm just trying to like have fun. But yeah, that one and Forever are my two favourites.
Yeah, love.
When Forever was a demo, I think I played it out at every afters I was at. Like not even at my own house. Just
to test it out.
I'd be like, hey guys, I make music by the way. If you don't know, I play all my unreleased songs at the afters. I'm the worst for that.
That's so great though.
It's almost it's like,
I mean, your label might be like, maybe don't do that, but
no, but I kind
your
of
friends love it.
I love all the iterations because it's not always how they end up.
Yeah.
And like sometimes you only have like one verse in there. Sometimes also like if you went to anyone else's house, you'd be like, I can't believe they played that in music all night long. It's so cringe. But no one says that about me, so it must be good.
It must be quite good.
Well, no one says it to my face, and that's all I care about.
As soon as they've left, no, I'm joking.
No. But also, it's like my friends hopefully would tell me if it was bad, and so I need to have that sounding board before releasing it to everyone else.
Yeah, are there a couple of friends you always play the music to like road test it?
No, literally everyone in my house is unfortunate. Like, if you step through the door, you'll get the EP straight away, like, or the album, whatever that's cooking, and then we can talk and catch up.
Oh, that's such a good thing. Obviously, collaborations are present on every track on Club Shy. So, what makes a good collaborator to you? So you've got quite a close circle, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, I collaborate on everything, and I think Club Shy really wanted to showcase that. You know, I work with producers all the time, but I didn't always they're not written in the title, and not everyone looks at the credits. I do. Whenever anyone makes something, I'm like, who is on this song? But I really wanted to kind of give them as much of the light as what I was receiving, because the songs wouldn't exist without us being in the room together and like sharing in that. I can't make music by myself. I don't enjoy it. Like I would sit at home if I have to work and someone sends me a beat and I need to write by myself. I'm like, ugh, I just hate it. I like to be able to get instant feedback. I like to write something, someone tell me, yeah, that's sick. Like, again, my praise kink in action. But that's just how I work best. Like, if I'm by myself, I can kind of get some things out. But it will never be a song. Like, it would be just me writing in my notes.
Yeah.
Like,
It's just not as much of a buzz either, I guess, is it?
no, it's
You lose
just,
that feeling.
Yeah, there's so many moments in my life, especially now being on the road, you know, where I have solitary moments, you know, it can get really insular, like when you're touring, because you're performing all the time and then you're back on the bus. So being able to be back in the studio and just kind of mess about with my mates is the best part of what I do.
The dream.
Yeah.
And if we're talking about collaborations, you've had the pleasure of working with Björk, and I know you've become like great friends since, right? Tell me about it. Like, was she just as amazing as you'd hoped?
Honestly, I hadn't really thought about it too much before, which I'm glad, because it made me not nervous to meet her. But the first time we met, I was with Sega, actually, because I was like, I actually can't go by myself. Like, what will I have to say?
In case you just sit there in silence, so overwhelmed.
But no, like, luckily she's just so amazing anyway, and really fun. And since then, you know, she curated a night that we all performed at in New York, and that was really fun to not just hang out, but like share in the music together. And I've actually got another show in Reykjavik like later on this year.
Wow.
So hopefully we get to hang out more there. But it was great just being able to like make the remixes together as well. Like, Woe, especially for me, because it was my track. Like, being on her track was amazing, but you always want to level up like each time. And the conversation we had on the track, because there is a real conversation between, you know, me saying on Woe about, I'm commenting on my relationship with the fans and myself. And about how that feels to feel like someone expects something of you when you don't even know what to expect from yourself. And her response to that is to just kind of fall into the wave of that and appreciate it, but also not to let go of the questioning, you know, and how important it is to check in on yourself and speak to those that are around you and find the creativity that's there, you know. And I just thought that was really lovely of her to really just kind of take the opportunity and not just like phone in a verse, you know, like everyone's busy. It's easy to do that and just to not really get into the sentiment of what's there. But it felt really creative and inspiring. And I'm so thankful to just share in that and have it documented forever.
Yeah, it's musical history. I mean, she is one of those people, she just wouldn't work with you if she didn't just, you know, adore you. So even the fact that you've kind of got that kind of cosign must be amazing. And she's somebody who's, you know, never compromised, always stayed true to herself. Does she have any advice for the Wild West that is the music industry?
Not loads. Like, she's kind of like, fuck everyone type thing. Like, she's just like, focus on yourself. Focus on, like, you're doing great. Like, she is there if I want to ask anything. But generally, I just appreciate that she's not, like, crazy. It's so weird meeting your idols a little bit, and then it can be disappointing, I hear. But I haven't had that yet. And it's funny because there's, again, so much I didn't know about her. And it's been nice to kind of get to know her as a person. And the first thing I told her, actually, when we were just emailing back and forth, I was like drunk one night, and it was like post-COVID, and I was emailing her because I was listening to one of her songs called Hunter, and it was one that my dad had actually left me. He'd given me her single and left it for me one time, and I really felt close to my dad through that. And you know, in this vulnerability of hearing her voice, I felt like the fact that my dad was really into that, and he was showing me like another side to his, what as a man you're capable of, you know, and that was really important to have this language that we kind of communicated through music, and she's a part of that for me. Yeah, and then she replied back being like, oh my God, I love BB as well, like, and all this, and how she got that through her daughter, and that she also has that kind of communication. So yeah, it was really nice to be able to say that to her.
Where did you guys meet up? Like, where did you connect? Because I'm like, where do you take Björk?
And she asked me to find a restaurant to go to because I was like, oh, we should go for dinner. And I'm terrible at finding, I have such a bad memory. Like, I go out to so many places and I just forget, like, the restaurant that I love, I'll forget about it. I had just recently been to this one place called Park Chinois, and it's by, like, Sexy Fish, which is, like, the most bait place ever.
Bougie.
But I remember them having, like, a DJ and stuff, and it being, like, a vibe. So I was like, I will go there. And I booked the entertainment room. I did not know that that room wasn't just DJs. It was like actual entertainers. So every 5 minutes, someone would come out and they would like swallow a sword or sing a song. And so we'd just start getting the conversation flowing, and then like literally the sword swallower would come out. And I was like, this is ridiculous.
That's so good.
So yeah, we ended up going back to my house afterwards and just like playing music. But yeah, it was definitely a conversation start. Don't ever ask me to book a restaurant. It's really bad.
There will be sword swallowers. And
Yeah.
that is guaranteed. You've also done a remix for Lady Gaga. Like, that must have been like a dream project.
That was the first remix I'd ever done. And Muramasa worked on that with me. But yeah, it was a great opportunity. And I never met Lady Gaga in that process. But I would love to meet her. But for me, like a really nice full circle moment, because her concert, her Monster Ball concert, was like the first one I ever went to, like in the first concert ever. And I sat like on the very back row in the O2, so I saw her as a tiny little doll. But yeah, it was really nice to be able to be like a part of her world, and also with BLACKPINK as well. So yeah, it was hugely affirming for an early point of my career.
Amazing. Reflecting back on your debut album, Nymph, what a phenomenal record, by the way. What do you remember of that era with like a bit of time and space?
It's so funny because when you finish something and you're on to the next stuff, you're like, I hate that. I don't hate it, but I don't listen to it at all.
You've just
now.
moved on.
Yeah, I think I will go back to it. I definitely play the songs out still, and it's different playing stuff live, because you have that energy of where you are currently in them. But that record is such a time capsule of where I was at that point. And it had such a journey for me that I just don't listen to it anymore.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, I'm really happy for it and I love it. But like I'm really enjoying the music that I've been working on at the moment, and I can't wait to share that.
So what can you tell us about the new music that you're working on?
There's a lot. I'm currently working on like a follow-up to Club Shy. Like I have Club Shy Room 2, which I'm not even meant to talk about that much, but it's again music that is of that world, but yeah, is the second room of the club almost. And that's nice because I've been touring it, so it feels like I'm in it and kind of have injected newer energy for me, and like it still keeps me in that world, but with a fresh perspective. And I have been working on my second album as well, which is more indie electronica kind of vibe. And you know, that might change and progress. I'm not in a rush to finish that. It's just nice to have. I always kind of work on two projects.
I was about to say, do you not mind that, like splitting your headspace?
No, because I made like thick on Club Shy. I made whilst I was working on Nymph, and like just naturally keeps ideas fresh, and I'm able to be experimental. I kind of do think about my albums as where I really push what I'm capable of the most, and then EPs and mixtapes where I kind of do what I know I'm already excelling at a little bit. Mm-hmm. So that's why like the club music in this era at the moment feels like I'm really paying homage to, you know, what I'm really good at. And I think it's nice to be able to say that. And then the album is what I want to be better at, and like kind of showing myself what I'm capable of that I maybe didn't know. But the albums where I kind of write like it's a diary, you know, I'm talking about where I'm at the moment, mentally, spiritually, and it's really inspired by like being in love, because that's how I feel in that journey. Hopefully I'm still in love by the time it comes out, which I feel like I will be.
Do you think Room 2 we might see Shygirl rapping again?
Yes.
Here for that.
Definitely. That's why it's kind of in Room 2. I feel like the first edition is a bit more like classic club euphoria vibe, and then there's elements of that, but there's still like the darker side of me. You know, I go into sessions sometimes and I work with producers and they'll ask me like, we want to get like, let's get some rap down, but it just doesn't come to me like that. Like I have to feel that energy, and a lot of rap for me is an element of bravado, and that I'm not really being sensitive or real half the time. I'm projecting what I want to feel like and who I want to be. And it's hard to always live in that space because just naturally with how performing has given me this element of like sentimentality and vulnerability that I want to hold on to as much as possible.
And will you work with Sega again? Sega Bodega?
Yeah.
He's your guy, isn't he?
Well, yeah, he's one of my best friends. I think that's always a real good place to start when you're working on music, because a lot of my music we've been working together, and it had become very much like, we need to finish this track, we need to get this track to mix, we need to do this, da da da. So I really just wanted to focus on our friendship and to not be pestering him to finish that.
Have you done it yet?
Have you done this? But he really wants to get back in the studio, but he lives in Paris at the moment. So
Right.
yeah, and before we were living like down the road from each other. So that's why so much of it got made. So when I'm back, I think I'm going to take the early next year to hunker down in the studio.
Oh, I'm excited to hear it, because Nymph was an album I listened to a lot just because it would always have me feeling like really great and really confident. Like it kind of gave me that kick. What do you think you learned from doing like your early EPs and, you know, working with Sega that made you create such a kind of confident, cohesive record?
I don't know. I like to go in with my mates that get me. I'm not like musically trained, and that was a big part of having the language to communicate well. And so it really helped having your mates who get the kind of garbledness of how I was explaining things or the references I was saying. And that was also just my first access into it. I didn't know that many other people. Now I know more people. I've met more producers and stuff, but it is hard to cultivate the environment that I like to work within, because I get like 2 days in with someone and then I'm on the road again. So it's about managing that time for me, because I really need to be able to like therapize in my sessions. I'm talking about if someone pissed me off that week, or, you know, it has to be a safe space. Like I definitely offload everything. I'm someone who has to say it out loud to know how I feel. And you need to trust who you're in the room with, because it's a small industry. Things get around.
Right, yeah, it's got to be a safe space. I get that. I wanted to ask you about the tune Uckers, because the scream at the start is just like genius. And then
It's
the way
not.
it builds
It's not
in.
me. It's not me that scream. Sega did it, and I had written something already, and then I think at the time I was visiting my grandma in the Caribbean, and he was just sending things over to me. And then he had this beat, and I like recorded it in my grandma's bedroom on my phone and sent it back, because I actually cannot scream. Like I can't, I don't even raise my voice. I'm someone, if I get mad, my voice gets like lower and like more stern. Whereas, so I've tried to scream, I just feel like an idiot. So he did that, but it was the energy of what I was saying was in, I think I actually sent him what I'd written before, and then he made the beat. And it was nice to have that where he like matched my energy.
Yeah.
And like kind of the frustration I wanted in that beat. And that's again having someone who really understands me. And that's why it's so important to have that relationship. Like you can, you know, we've known each other now for like 10 years, and that's the most formative part of like my, you know, personality as well. Like I hope I've changed from when we first met, because I hope I've grown up a little bit, and so has he. But you know, we've been in that together, and I think that was really valuable to have. And when I was first starting out making music, he really like helped me find my voice, which I feel like I have now.
I feel like on the album there's like some like bold and brash moments, but there's like a really nice vulnerable side as well. And I connected with tracks like Firefly. Do you find it easy to be vulnerable and open in your writing?
I feel like I do now, because everything has its time. Like I think with Alias, like there was a real bravado that was just like coming out the gate, and it was like I needed to like set myself up a bit, and that's how I felt. I was also quite young and just frivolous and saying things because I was like, that's how I feel right now. And that was needed. I needed to get that out in order to then realize that I needed to also explain how I got to that point was because there is this vulnerable side of me, and it needed that. So if I just kept on with that bravado, you would never know that, and it kind of boxes you into being that version of yourself all the time. That's just not normal. Like even when I was doing like, you know, promoting Cleo as a single,
Oh, I loved Cleo.
which I love, but like
So cinematic, so good.
again, I was with my ex at that point and I was like, oh my God, I'm in love. And then we broke up and I was still singing that song and I was like, I'm not in love. And like, and I'm stuck singing about it right now. I feel like it's starting to make me dissociate. So that's why when I made Nymph, I was like, I'm going to give myself room to be all the different sides of myself so that I can not be a crazy person on stage and like actually feel it and be real. Because for me, it is a constant struggle to find a reality in those moments when you're presenting a character sometimes, you know, like a part of you, but still a character, you know, and I really try and be as authentic and as real as possible because it's the only way I know how to do this.
Nymph obviously was hugely successful, shortlisted for the Mercury Prize, and you won Best Electronic Act as well at the MOBO Awards earlier this year. That must have just been an incredible moment for you and the whole scene, really.
I was so surprised, like the MOBOs especially, because we had me and my friends who worked on the creative with me, we have like a running joke that, you know, when we think about where we would end up, like any award ceremonies, whatever, I was like, the MOBOs are never going to have me. Like, they're never going to see it for me. Like, I think because the music isn't just on the outset stereotypically what some people think of as of Black origin, you know, even if I myself am of Black origin, like it doesn't represent what is the stereotype. And I was really surprised and really grateful to be seen and, you know, recognized in that space because it is something I've really struggled with my whole life as someone who's of mixed origin, to feel like a part of either one, you know, and of any space is something that has been a journey for me. And so to have something that is really entrenched in like Black culture, especially as a Londoner, it was really surprising. I kind of see on my face when I accept that award. I did not think at all. And I didn't even, when they brought the camera over to the table, it wasn't clicking for me. And so I was in a date, and also my table was the furthest from the stage. So I was like, I'm definitely not getting anything tonight. So the walk felt like ages, but it's really nice, you know, and you don't think when you're making something that you're going to win anything for it. It's not why you do it. It's not why I do it anyway.
No.
And but that award sits in my living room, so like everyone can see it now.
Yeah, come on, flex it. Got to be done. Have you had a moment yet where you feel like you've made it?
It's funny. I thought about this. I got really stressed a couple of weeks ago and I was like, I'm going to quit. And I was like, I can, because I have accomplished everything I wanted to, because I didn't want to accomplish anything in this. I just did it, you know. There was nothing in making music that I didn't have any goals, and I've done more than I could have ever dreamed of so far. And I just kind of had to tell myself that a little bit and remind myself that nothing stressful was actually happening. I was just being dramatic. But but it was good to just tell myself, you know, that I'm incredibly lucky. And sometimes that's quite a big pressure, you know, like everyone tells you like, oh, you must be having so much fun, you should be so grateful. And not every day is fun. Like you might be on your period or something, so whatever. Like some days I'm not in the mood, and that's normal. But if I was sat at home doing anything else, I wouldn't be happy. Like this, I do love this job. The biggest thing for me is literally just being able to make a song. Like that has not stopped being amazing. Like when I leave the studio, like I rush home and I show my boyfriend something, or like whoever happens to be there, the next victim in my house. I show them whatever I'm working on. I'm like, oh my God, I made this. And then I listen to it on repeat for like 2 weeks, and then I realize it could be better. And I go back in and I work on it some more. But that's my favorite part, and it never stops being fun.
Do you feel like as long as you're making music, you're happy? You haven't really put any like things on your vision board necessarily, like any definite ambitions?
I have ambitions in life, like, but nothing really in music. Like, I just want to be able to make more music. I just like being able to be a part of something. And music is a hugely collaborative experience for me, but I want more of those things. And every time I do something like that, it feeds into the other thing that I'm doing.
Yeah.
Like when I'm performing music, you never know how long that's going to last. Like what could happen to you, you know, a part of it is a very physical experience. You don't even know if you're going to be able to do that. Maybe I'm not Madonna. I don't know if I'm going to be doing it when I'm 60. That's like an athlete right there.
That is amazing, isn't it?
So yeah, I really just appreciate everything that I'm doing in the moment.
Well, Shygirl, it's been a pleasure to have you on the podcast. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Shygirl, everybody. Such a pleasure to have Shygirl on the pod this week. A brilliant and eloquent conversation with her. I hope that you connected with it as well. Please do spread the word and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts or over on our YouTube channel. This is a Good Karma production recorded at Metropolis Studios. Thanks for listening. I'll see you soon.